The young mistress of the George family's crown prince attempted suicide by climbing onto a cross-river bridge. To coax her down, he sent a fleet of 100 luxury cars filled with roses, paralyzing the city in a traffic jam. Overwhelmed by emotion, she fainted. He hijacked the ambulance, leaving my sister by the roadside. He threatened the medics, "If Nancy loses even a single strand of hair, all of you will die with her." The convoy cleared the way for his beloved to receive treatment, while my sister died alone in the storm. Afterward, Nancy Perry wept, "She was just unlucky. Why blame me?" The prince stormed my sister's memorial, pressed a lit cigarette into my eye, and forced me to kneel and apologize to Nancy. Devastated, I dragged them both down with me. Only in death did I learn the truth. Nancy was the pampered heroine of a romance novel. Anyone who stood in her way was fated to suffer. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my sister's heart began to fail. I woke to the sound of my colleague's envious gasp. "Emma, look. The master of the George family is chasing his runaway little wife through the rain in a Maybach." I touched my limbs, intact. Not a trace of being blown to bits in a car explosion. Then it hit me, I had been reborn. I snatched my colleague's phone. On the HD live stream, Nancy was already perched on the beam of the bridge. Her black hair was soaked, and she danced barefoot along the steel, her white dress billowing like a ghost's wings. She stopped her twirling, looked at Daniel George, and cried, "Do you really want me dead before you'll let my father go? He's an old man. How could you put him in a cold, lonely care facility? I can't even fulfill my duty as a daughter." A single tear slipped from her eye. Then she made a move to jump into the river below. "If that's the case, then I hope you die alone, never knowing love again." Daniel George's eyes reddened. He roared, "Don't you dare. Your life belongs to me. I forbid you to die for another man. If you dare jump, I'll bury the entire Needham City with you." My colleague clasped her face with both hands and sighed with hollow admiration. So overbearing, so romantic. Romantic? Two selfish monsters mocking order, trampling human lives for the sake of their love? In my previous life, Nancy also climbed the bridge and threatened suicide. Daniel sent a fleet of 100 luxury cars filled with roses to propose to her right then and there. She came down, teary-eyed and touched by the spectacle. The two embraced passionately. Commuters rushing home, parents hurrying to pick up their kids, delivery drivers fighting deadlines, all became unwilling extras in their grand love story. The ambulance sirens frightened Nancy into fainting. Daniel, enraged, hijacked the ambulance and threatened the medics, "If Nancy loses a single strand of hair, you'll all pay with your lives." The convoy cleared the way to the hospital for his sweetheart, while my sister died alone in the pouring rain. Her death rippled into nothingness, like a drop of water swallowed by the sea. Everyone told me, "The George family crushing you is as easy as stepping on an ant. Your sister's gone, but you're still alive. Life goes on, just let it go." Nancy cried pitifully to Daniel, "She just had bad luck. Why is she blaming me? So what if someone died? It's just one life, why should I have to suffer for that?" Daniel, unable to bear seeing his darling cry, led people to smash my sister's memorial. He struck me again and again with a baseball bat, while I curled on the floor, desperately shielding her urn. Nancy pointed at me, whispering to Daniel, "Why is she looking at me with such a scary expression?" Daniel yanked my hair, lifted me up, and pressed a lit cigarette toward my eye. "Who said you could look at her like that? You don't need this eye anymore." I clutched my sister's urn tightly, refusing to let go. Because the moment I did, they'd snatch it away and smash it. I couldn't protect her life. I couldn't let her ashes be desecrated too. Someone pried my eyelids open. I could only watch the cigarette tip draw closer. Then came the pain. My face twisted in agony. I bit down hard on my lip. Nancy buried her face in Daniel's chest. She looked so disgusting. So ugly. "I'm scared." Daniel hugged her. "Don't be afraid, silly girl. Are you happy now?" She pouted and whimpered softly, "You touched her just now. I hate you." In their eyes, ordinary people were born to suffer and die. Only then could their noble, protagonist halo shine even brighter. Daniel silenced her with a fierce kiss. "You dare?" Then he ordered his men to send me to a private club. "I've already arranged everything there. I hope you can grit your teeth and last a little longer, just like now. Don't beg for mercy." I was dragged out like a dead dog. A bodyguard, momentarily moved by pity, whispered, "My little sister would have been your age if she hadn't gone missing. Once you go in there, no one comes out alive. Run far away. Don't ever come back. You can't beat them." But he didn't know, I had no intention of surviving. I just wanted them dead. Hearing the sounds coming from the memorial hall, I forced down the nausea and cut their brake lines. I wouldn't live much longer, but I could still watch them die with my own eyes. Worth it. I hid in the trunk. A sliver of golden sunlight streamed in. I gasped for air, blood pouring out. At a bend in the road, the car sped into the sunset. A burst of flames. A deafening explosion. In that moment, the clearest sound I heard was their terrified screams. I curled into myself and couldn't help but laugh. At the moment of death, waves of the novel's original plot came flooding into my mind. So this was a love story. A sweet romance centered around Nancy and Daniel. As a child, Daniel had been kidnapped by Nancy's father, who planned to extort $30 million from the George family. Back then, Nancy thought Daniel was handsome, so she begged her human trafficking father to keep him around for her amusement. Years later, one of the kidnapped children escaped and reported the hideout. Before Nancy's dad was arrested, he flew into a rage and ordered his men to poison the remaining children mute, disfigure their faces, and break their limbs. Nancy secretly released Daniel. When she later ended up in an orphanage, Daniel lied and claimed she was his savior. He took her back to the George family. From a trafficker's pampered little princess, Nancy became Daniel's beloved. Her white dress never once touched the mud. And I was the child who escaped and reported their location. The reason her father nearly ended up in prison. A mere cannon fodder character in their story. In the original plot, once Nancy found out the truth, she sold me back to their hometown to avenge her father. They tortured me to death. But now, I, the cannon fodder, had broken free from the plot's grip. I killed the male and female leads with my own hands. One cannon fodder's awakening sparked the awakening of countless others. At that moment, the wheels of fate began to turn. Emma, are you okay? You look awful. A concerned colleague gently patted my shoulder. You're still young. Don't ruin your health by pulling all-nighters just to pay tuition. It's not worth it. I took off my convenience store uniform jacket and stuffed it into her arms. Something came up at home. Cover my shift for today, I'll treat you to dinner next time. Go slow. Take an umbrella. It's still raining. I ignored her shouts and rushed into the rain. There was still time. This time, I had to save my sister. Cold wind whipped through my collar, raising goosebumps across my skin. I pulled my coat tighter and sprinted toward the bridge. At this very moment, the bridge was utterly jammed. Because Nancy was threatening suicide. I glanced at my watch. 15 minutes left. I had to clear the way before the ambulance arrived. I parked the van near the bridgehead. The area was filled with honking cars and frustrated drivers. This van used to be a mobile advertising truck for the convenience store. It came equipped with speakers and an LED display. I switched on the broadcast. My voice pierced the rain. People of Needham City, good evening. My name is Emma West. Instantly, the noisy din fell silent. After a brief pause, came a torrent of curses. Damn it, traffic's already a mess. Can't you just shut up? Always pulling these cheap tricks. What are you trying to sell us this time? I stepped out of the car, stood tall, and let out a slow breath. 20 years ago, a demon came to Needham City. He lured countless innocent children with fake kindness and candy, then shattered their futures with blood-stained hands. People around me began to look puzzled. I continued, I was one of those children. Back then, I was too young. Locked away in a cold, dark room. My parents searched for me across the country. They were scammed, beaten, and eventually killed, buried in cement in a foreign land. By the time I escaped, I carried a mark I could never wash off. And the demon's daughter? She bloomed like a snow-white jasmine in that filthy, rancid cellar, nourished by the blood of other children. She wore the finest clothes, walked with the grace of innocence, and claimed to be kind. But just because things didn't go her way, she staged a suicide and made everyone else pay for her so-called love story. I ask you, what has the world come to? Someone in the crowd started clapping. By the time my words ended, I had already walked up to Nancy. She could no longer keep up the act. She collapsed out of Daniel's arms, staring at me in horror. She wanted to ask, how did I know? But I had died once. And I came back knowing that what stood between us was more than just my sister's life. Lies. You think a broke bitch like you can slander Daniel's woman with a few words? Daniel quickly regained his composure and shielded Nancy behind him. I stepped closer and lowered my voice. Is it slander? You of all people should know. After all, who helped that monster evade the law back then? Should I say the name out loud? President George? Daniel's face darkened immediately. I suggest you watch your mouth. Digging up the past won't do you any good. Kneel now, and apologize to Nancy for your stupidity. Before he could finish barking orders, I pressed the broadcast switch again. You have 3 minutes to clear the road. Or I'll expose all your secrets. I turned the volume to its highest setting. This was my final warning. I had to make this big. Catch the George family's PR team off guard. Drag both myself and my sister into the spotlight. It was the only way to fight him. Rain poured down my face. Beneath the bridge, the muddy water surged, reflecting the city's darkest truths. Nancy trembled all over. Her face was deathly pale, lips clenched tight as she stared at me. You're lying? My father was the kindest man in the world. He never did any of that. I stepped closer. He did. And you knew it. You were raised on his dirty money, weren't you? At that moment, the ambulance's sirens pierced through the night, drawing closer to the bridge. Make way. Someone's having a heart attack. Nancy, what's wrong? Daniel caught Nancy as she collapsed, ready to charge toward the ambulance. Stop that ambulance, now. I won't allow anything to happen to Nancy. My lashes were soaked with rain, fluttering like butterfly wings. And then, chaos. A water bottle flew from the crowd, striking Daniel square in the face. Yellow liquid splashed all over him and Nancy, reeking of something foul. You even dare to hijack an ambulance? What the hell is wrong with you? Anyone else calls this romantic again and I'll punch them. I nearly suffocated in this jam, now you can taste it too. Voices erupted from all sides. I'm trying to pick up my kid, and you're here playing drama queen. Damn it, my delivery's overdue. I'm losing money. Do the rich think we're not human? This needs a full investigation. The same reporters who had just praised their love story now swarmed them like sharks, shoving cameras in their faces. The crowd parted, making way for the ambulance. Even Daniel's own driver quietly moved the luxury car aside. A path named Life opened before us. My sister's ambulance sped through, straight toward the hospital. Flashes from the cameras turned the scene into a blinding sea of white light. Reporters pushed their lenses right into their faces. Is your girlfriend's behavior not a disruption of public order? Is it true that the future mistress of the George family is involved in a human trafficking case? Shouldn't the George family offer justice to the victims instead of protecting a criminal's daughter? Nancy shrank into Daniel's arms, her eyelids trembling violently, but she didn't dare open her eyes. She couldn't face the public's questions, because she had no answers. Words like justice, human trafficker, abuse of power, ambulance hijacking, blocking emergency resources, the crown prince's lover dancing on a bridge while a patient died. All of these were now crashing down on them like a tidal wave. Daniel could no longer maintain his polished facade. He snapped, finally revealing his cruelty and arrogance. Insignificant ants. And you dare speak to me about justice? To people like them, those born gilded and glowing under the spotlight. People like us were just insects to be crushed at will. They were bathed in praise and privilege from the moment they were born, while my sister and I lived in the darkest corners of Needham City, clinging to each other's warmth just to survive the cold. But they had forgotten. If it weren't for Nancy's father, my sister and I might have lived happy, ordinary lives. They weren't the protagonists. They were criminals, accomplices, and executioners who should be standing trial. I put down my phone and gently straightened my sister's blanket. This time, I would make sure they all paid the price. Thanks to the timely ambulance, my sister survived. The moment she woke up, she gripped my hand tightly. Emma, I saw her. On TV. That girl, she's his daughter. I saw her before. I still remember. My sister's heart condition had not flared up once since we were reunited. This time, it was Nancy's suicidal stunt on the trending news that triggered her relapse. Emma, do you really think we can win against them? I patted her hand gently. Have you ever heard the saying, those without shoes don't fear those wearing them? The George family's PR team tried to salvage the situation, but they couldn't suppress public outrage. They resorted to releasing a long list of donations the George Group had made to impoverished mountain regions, trying to prove they were a philanthropic and responsible enterprise. When I saw Nancy again in the hospital, I wasn't surprised. Daniel was with her. Nancy still wore that familiar look of arrogance. I'm here to apologize on my father's behalf. Happy now? I can't just watch him go to prison. Can't you understand what it means to be a filial daughter? Don't you have a father? Her father's crimes were now public knowledge. Prison was no longer a possibility, it was inevitable. I gave a slight smirk. My father? You've got the nerve to ask me that? He and my mother had finally found me. But your father? Your father buried them in the walls of the villa you live in. Nancy's eyes darted around. No. I didn't know. It wasn't him. You're lying. Really? Is that the story you're going with? You of all people should know. Your father used that blood-stained money to raise you in luxury. Those filthy hands used to lift you onto his shoulders. And you think that pretending not to know makes it all okay? I stepped closer. Nancy crumpled to the ground. Daniel immediately pulled her into his arms and glared coldly at me. Name your price. You made this a spectacle. Isn't that what you wanted? Money? Don't think I don't know how you poor people think. 2 million should be enough to buy your parents' worthless lives. When I didn't respond, he grew irritated. Take the money and walk away. Push any further, and you'll regret it. I looked him in the eye. I don't want your money. I want you to hand over that monster. Either you keep your name and position, or you continue shielding a criminal. The choice is yours. Nancy suddenly screamed, her teeth clenched. No. My father is old. He can't survive prison. Emma West, how can you be so cruel? Even to an old man? You'll die a horrible death. Then she stomped down with her high heel. Right onto the ventilator tube. My sister, lying in bed, suddenly went pale. I shoved Nancy aside and rushed over. Sister. Beep. 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 The monitor flatlined. A straight, unbroken line. Medical staff burst into the room. Nancy fled in panic. My sister was rushed into emergency resuscitation. Daniel slammed a check against my face. $3 million. For your sister's life. You can't blame Nancy. She's the most innocent and kind-hearted person I know. If you hadn't pushed her, she never would have made a mistake. Your family brought this on yourselves. As he turned to leave, I dug a micro camera out of the wall. That very night, a post titled, "A Poor Person's Life Isn't a Life," soared to the top of the trending list. The video clearly showed Daniel and Nancy trying to manipulate me with guilt, and ultimately causing my sister's relapse. As for the $3 million he tried to give me, I donated it in full to the Child Protection Association. With a note, may every child grow up safe in the arms of their parents. And may this world know no more trafficking. The irony was complete. Online, the outrage exploded. People wanted to tear Daniel and Nancy limb from limb. Wow. So rich people can do whatever the hell they want now. I used to ship them. Now I feel like I swallowed poison. Disgusting. Nancy was born benefiting from this system. Who gave her the right to talk down to victims? Am I the only one who thinks Nancy might be innocent? It was her father's crime, not hers. Maybe it's time to let go and forgive. Yeah, you're the only idiot here. Toss you in a pressure cooker for 2 hours, you'll learn quick. Then I hope you get trafficked and butchered, you brainless freak. With empathy like that, are you a trafficker too? Just curious. Did you all notice? Emma said that scumbag was hidden away by the George family, never punished. Calls for Nancy's father to face the death penalty grew louder by the hour. Nancy cried until her eyes were nearly swollen shut. Even Daniel was starting to crack. Brother Ellis messaged me while I was peeling an apple for my sister. Target in motion. Transfer initiated. My sister gave me a playful wink. How was my acting? Pretty convincing? Almost Oscar-worthy, I replied, handing her the apple. I turned off my phone, remembering what Brother Ellis had once told me before he let me go in the previous life. If my little sister were still alive, she'd be about your age now. His sister had also been abducted by Nancy's father, and had never been found. I had told him what I knew, and he agreed without hesitation to help me investigate. Brother Ellis was Daniel's personal bodyguard. He quickly sent me the location. Just 10 kilometers from Needham stood a private sanatorium, one Daniel had spent a fortune to build specifically for one person. The place was outrageously lavish, complete with a chauffeur, housekeepers, personal chefs from 4 different countries. I stood staring at the half-eaten caviar and imported seafood on the table. It was laughable. That monster had been living in hidden luxury, while families who had lost their children went bankrupt trying to find them. Some were destroyed. Some never recovered. My fingernails dug into my palms, leaving bloody crescents. Disgusting. He deserved to die. Fortunately, the vehicle transferring Nancy's father didn't get far before it was intercepted by the police. Despite being over 50, the man showed no signs of aging. Clearly, he had lived very comfortably. Nancy's father knew the game was up. He confessed to everything without resistance, claiming his daughter and son-in-law had nothing to do with his crimes. He was even arrogant about it. That sanatorium? I built it myself. So what? No one helped me. It was all my doing. I only wanted my daughter to live a good life. What's so wrong with that? Shouldn't the blame fall on those careless parents who couldn't even protect their own kids? If they weren't so stupid, I wouldn't have had the chance to take them in the first place. The police dug beneath the sanatorium and uncovered over a dozen small skeletons. Children. Bones barely developed, already twisted and malformed. Their parents were still out there, searching for them. Unaware that their children had already been broken, buried in darkness, never to see sunlight again. DNA tests confirmed it. They were all children who had gone missing over the past 20 years. One of them was Brother Ellis's sister. She had disappeared at 8 years old. Her small skeleton showed clear signs of trauma, both arms and legs had been broken. All 10 finger bones were unnaturally distorted. Her cause of death, a drill hole to the skull. Brother Ellis brought his mother to identify her. She was in her 50s now, hair entirely gray. Ever since her daughter disappeared, she had lived with guilt, blaming herself 1,000 times over for not holding her daughter's hand tighter that day. It had been her daughter's 8th birthday. She had bought her a pink princess dress. The little girl had pointed at a balloon shaped like a teddy bear and said sweetly, "Mommy, I want that one. Please." Her mother kissed her soft cheek. "Of course, sweetheart. Anything for you." But when she turned back with the balloon, her daughter was gone. The next time she saw her was in a coffin. No one dared imagine what kind of torment the child endured before she died. Ellis's mother nearly fainted from crying. She dropped to her knees, slapping herself over and over. "This is my fault. I'm a terrible mother. I didn't protect you." I took her hand. "It's not your fault, Auntie. It's those heartless, monstrous bastards who are to blame. It's the cowards who covered up for them." Ellis's mother collapsed against my shoulder, sobbing. "So many years, all these years. I used to pray she was still alive. That maybe a kind family took her in. That she was safe and growing up somewhere, even if I couldn't see her. I didn't want to imagine the worst. I didn't dare." Even Brother Ellis, tall and strong, curled into a corner of the wall, shaking with sobs. I wanted to comfort him. But he wiped his tears and looked at me with a grim, resolute expression. "Don't worry about me, sis. Right now, we still don't have enough evidence to bring those two bastards down. I'll keep staying close. I'm deep enough that they won't suspect me. He's too busy spiraling. Hasn't even noticed I've turned on him." The scandal shocked the entire nation. Nancy didn't even dare open her social media accounts. All her once glamorous vlogs, luxurious selfies, and sweet couple videos had become a war zone. That innocent princess image had been built on the bones of countless victims. Her father's hands were soaked in blood. And she was the flower he nurtured with that blood. A carnivorous bloom. Why don't you just die already? You think showing off all that luxury is something to be proud of? Have you no shame? You're nothing but a parasite. Trash. Filth worse than an animal. Go die with your precious lover. I used to admire your love story. Now I feel sick. Didn't you love playing the suicidal heroine? Why not do it again now? Actually, if she jumps now, I'll be the first to clap. Finally doing something right." Nancy had never endured such humiliation in her life. Her female lead aura had completely failed. Even the George family had started to turn on her. They once treated her like Daniel's savior. She was showered with favor, practically considered a half-daughter of the family. And with Daniel's obsession, their relationship was all but officially acknowledged. But once the truth came out, the George family nearly beat her to death. Daniel, however, shielded her with his life. He even clashed with the George family patriarch. "You have no idea. If it weren't for Nancy, I'd be dead in that hellhole. She's the light of my life. I can't live without her. If you want to touch her, you'll have to step over my corpse first." Of course, all this was inside information, shared with me by Brother Ellis. Honestly, the two of them were laughable. Even during Nancy's father's trial, she didn't dare show up. She cowered in Daniel's arms, watching the live stream instead. Her father was sentenced to death on the spot. As he was dragged away, he glared at me and spat venomously. "I regret nothing I've done. My only regret is not killing you when I had the chance. Now you dare bite me? If you lay a hand on my daughter, I'll haunt you from the grave." You see? Evil men never think they're wrong. People like him never truly repent. The only thing they regret is not being more thorough. Not hiding their tracks better, not killing every last threat. I smiled coldly, tightened my grip on my sister's hand, and whispered toward the courtroom aisle, "Don't worry. She'll be joining you soon enough. May your family reunite in hell. When the gates of the underworld open, scream as loud as you can. So I can pop a bottle of champagne and drink to it with joy." As my sister and I returned home, a figure suddenly lunged out of the dark stairwell. "Watch out!" Instinctively, I shielded my sister. Before I could react, the attacker slammed me to the floor. She grabbed my hair and smashed my head against the concrete. In just one moment, my vision darkened. The smell of blood and rust filled my nose. I tried to raise my hand to protect my head. But a blade pierced straight through my palm. It was the same hand Nancy's father had broken all those years ago. It still ached with phantom pain every time it rained. Back then, I had been on my way to piano class with my mom. My backpack still had sheet music inside. Nancy wore a silk-white princess dress and stomped on my new school bag with her polished leather shoes. She opened the sheet music, then frowned. She didn't understand a single note. Tears welled up in her eyes. She turned to her father. "Daddy, I want to learn too. Can she teach me?" Nancy's dad adored her to the core. He immediately bought her a grand piano. I was forced to teach her to play. But she didn't have the talent. She struggled with even the basics. Eventually, she snapped. Slamming the piano lid shut, she screamed, "I quit. I don't want to learn anymore." "You think you're special just because you can play piano? Who do you think you are, showing off in front of me?" My hands were still on the keys. The pain shot through every nerve, nearly making me pass out. Nancy's father stormed in, kicking me hard in the chest. How dare you bully my daughter? Do you have a death wish? Nancy clung to his chest, sobbing even louder than me. Daddy, she called me an idiot. Said I'm too stupid to learn something this simple. She's so smart. I'm afraid you'll stop loving me and start liking her instead. I tried to explain. I never said those words. But I was in too much pain to finish a sentence. All I could do was watch, as Nancy's father crushed my fingers, one by one, just to please his daughter. Over the next 6 months, I lost count of how many times he broke my hands. I could never play the piano again. And every time I cried in agony, rolling on the floor, Nancy would clap and giggle in delight. She was evil by nature. The fact that she was named Nancy was the sickest irony of all. The sharp pain brought me back to the present. I gripped the knife she was trying to stab into my eye. Blood from my torn palm dripped into my eye sockets. Only then, in the dim hallway light, did I see her face clearly. It was Nancy. 2 months had passed. She looked thinner, hollow-eyed, madness flickering in her expression. My dad only trafficked you. He didn't kill you. Why did you have to push him to death? Emma, you preach righteousness and morality. But you murdered my father. You're the real monster. Why don't you just die? I glanced sideways at my sister. She had been flung across the hall. Her forehead had hit the staircase rail. A thin stream of blood trailed from the wound. Nancy continued screaming, You don't blame your own parents for losing you. But you blame mine? You're just seeking revenge. You worthless piece of trash. Even if I kill you today, it would be justice. The knife inched closer to my eye. There was a feverish gleam in Nancy's gaze. She even smiled, a deranged, bone-chilling smile. I said nothing. Words were useless with people like her. She wouldn't listen. She was pure selfishness, void of empathy. Deaf to reason. As she kept ranting, I timed it perfectly. Grabbed the knife, and stabbed it straight into her eye. Nancy let out a piercing scream, rolling on the floor, clutching her face. You bitch. How dare you touch me? My dad will never forgive you. Daniel won't let you live. Your dad is already dead, I said coldly. Why don't you go join him in hell? I reached for my phone to call emergency services, but the hospital called first. Emma, your sister has been matched with a suitable heart donor. The doctor had just finished treating my wounds. Both my sister and Nancy were wheeled into the operating rooms. The police and Daniel arrived soon after. Daniel charged at me, grabbing for my throat. If anything happens to Nancy, I'll kill you. You could die 100, 1,000 times, and it still wouldn't make up for what she suffered. The officer stepped between us. Get any closer, and I'll arrest you for assaulting an officer. A nearby nurse rolled her eyes. This is a hospital. Stop yelling and disturbing the patients. Daniel scoffed and turned to the officer. Arrest her. She killed Nancy's father. Now she wants Nancy dead too. How can you not arrest such a heartless woman? The officer was so dumbfounded by his logic, he didn't know how to respond. Daniel pressed on. Tell me, how much do you want to have her sentenced to death? 10 million? I'll call someone right now to wire it to your account. The officer shoved his hand away, his tone turning grave. Bribing a public official, Mr. George? Trying to add more charges to your record? I gave a cold laugh and raised my phone, still live streaming. Oops. Guess my finger slipped. Now everyone gets to see your true, ugly face. Daniel looked like he wanted to kill me on the spot. His rage made me double over laughing. Don't worry, Mr. George. Everything you've done today will be reported in full. He turned, seething, and made a phone call. Definitely not for anything good. Just then, Brother Ellis arrived with the medical team transporting the donor heart. Daniel rushed toward them. You got it, right? Nancy gets it first. If she loses even a single hair, I'll make you. Wait. Stop. You're going the wrong way. Nancy is in the room on the right. He lunged forward, but Brother Ellis caught him with a takedown and pinned him to the ground. Nancy doesn't have a heart condition, he said flatly. All those muscles on Daniel were just for show. He was no match for someone like Ellis, who had trained to kill. Daniel flailed, his signature slicked back hair now a sweaty mess. But he couldn't break free. All he could do was scream, no. That's impossible. Nancy would never lie to me. Emma, you bitch. You stole her heart donor. You're doing this just for revenge. I didn't bother replying. What was the point? They were scum. Incapable of hearing anything beyond their twisted, entitled logic. After my sister was out of danger, she recovered remarkably well. Her face, once pale as snow, began to regain a healthy flush of color. According to regulations, donors and recipients are not supposed to know each other's identity. But I still came across the news about a car accident on the bridge that day. It was a young woman, about the same age as my sister. She had been struck by a drunk, speeding rich kid, flung several meters through the air. She didn't even make it to the hospital before she passed. She had signed up as an organ donor before her death. She had just been admitted to university, at the cusp of her brightest years. Her dream was to become a journalist who could speak for the people. The driver? He was an illegitimate son of the George family. The girl's parents had an older son who had been abducted when he was little. She was all they had left. They loved her as if she were their very lifeblood. As for their missing son, he had been sold to an infertile couple. Only after Nancy's father was arrested did they finally learn the truth. When the elderly couple found the boy, he refused to acknowledge them. Worse, he threatened them, "If you dare sue my adoptive parents, I'll make you regret it." They could only help each other home, trembling and devastated. And just a few days later, their daughter, their last hope, was gone. My sister and I visited them. The old woman held my sister close to her chest and wept, my baby is still alive." Tears rolled down the deep creases at the corners of her eyes. The old man patted my sister's hand and repeated, "Good child, you're all right now, you're all right. If you can, come visit us once in a while." Forget it, forget it. But my sister reached out and grabbed their hands. "I will. I'll come see you often. Godfather, godmother." Good, that's more than we could ask for." I turned and walked outside, leaving the three of them alone. Just then, my phone rang. A low, dignified voice came through the line, "Miss West, we should meet." The man sitting in front of me was none other than Carter George, the aging but still sharp patriarch of the George family. He lifted his eyes slightly to glance at me. "Stand still. Did I say you could sit?" Not only did I sit, I took the main seat. I grinned. "Speak your piece. Or fart it out, whichever suits you. When the tree is crooked, the branches won't grow straight. With grandsons like yours, I bet the old root isn't any better." Outrageous. He raised his cane, ready to strike. "You hit me, I end up in the hospital. But if I hit you, I'm pretty sure you'll go straight to the grave." It took him a while to catch his breath. Eventually, he sat down across from me, sipped his tea, and forced himself to stay composed. Then he got to the point. "I want you to livestream an apology. Say Daniel didn't steal your sister's donor. Say it was all just a misunderstanding." I poured myself some tea and took a light sip. "And then what?" Thinking I had taken the bait, he smirked with contempt. "You poor people always lack the same thing, money. As long as my grandson survives, I'll pay whatever it takes." Ugh. What kind of tea was this? Tasted like sewage. I spread my hands, sighed. Maybe that would have worked before. But not now. The whole internet's seen your cunning old face for what it really is. I pointed at the button on my chest. A hidden camera. Provided by the police before I came here. His face twitched as I added calmly, "When you walk out that door today, get ready to walk into prison. You wanted to whitewash yourself by donating supplies to poor mountain villages. But turns out those supplies were laced with toxic chemicals. Your morally bankrupt company deserves to collapse. And you? You deserve to rot in hell. If you ask me, don't break up Daniel and Nancy. A human trafficking family and a heartless corporate empire. A match made in hell." His aide whispered something in his ear. His eyes rolled back, legs twitched. He collapsed. Brother Ellis uploaded a secret recording. It utterly shattered the towering George dynasty that had loomed over Needham for decades. In the audio, Daniel's voice was arrogant and revolting. "Poor people are worthless. They don't deserve good stuff. They should be grateful for whatever scraps we throw at them. And now they dare bite back? Serves them right, they're poor. Ungrateful mutts, the lot of them. Check the family backgrounds of those poisoned. Do whatever it takes to kill the news." His assistant replied, "Sir, the situation's already beyond control." Then a loud crash, like something heavy being thrown. Daniel roared in fury, "Get out. All of you, get out. Useless pieces of garbage." The public exploded in outrage. George Group's stock plummeted, hitting limit down. The drunk-driving illegitimate son was quickly arrested and sentenced to death under public scrutiny. As for Daniel, despite the family's best efforts to protect him, he couldn't be saved. Before the police arrived, he took all of the family's liquid funds and escaped abroad with Nancy, now blind in one eye. But there were no more storybook fans to sing praises of their undying love. Only endless curses. Brother Ellis personally escorted them to the Golden Triangle. He smiled, tipped his hat. "Master, miss, have a lovely weekend." Then he turned and walked away with the money. No matter how much they screamed and cursed, it was useless. The money? Brother Ellis brought it back and donated every last cent to the Children's Protection Foundation. Daniel had his limbs broken to prevent escape, and was sold as a living exhibit to a twisted collector. Once the proud heir, he now lived in misery. Unable to live, unable to die. As for Nancy, blind in one eye and unsuitable for display, she was part of a buy-one-get-one deal. Her job, Clean up Daniel's filth every day. After hearing all this, I wiped away imaginary tears. Still inseparable after all that? How touching. Really, moved me a little. My sister's health kept improving. She accepted the elderly couple as her godparents. And me? I'd saved up enough for college. Though I'd never play the piano again with these hands, I could still hold a pen. I could still write. Still raise a mic and speak for those living in the shadows. I left a bouquet of sunflowers at my parents' grave. Their favorite flower. The photo on the tombstone had faded, but I still remembered. My father's rough but gentle hands, my mother's fragrant and warm embrace. I rested my head against the cold stone. Dad, Mom, I miss you so much. My sister and I will live well. Supporting each other, hand in hand. In our next life, please let me be your daughter again. I love you.